Hello, and thank you for joining us for the 2027 Institute Informational Session hosted by Disability Lead. We're so pleased that you've joined us to learn more about the Institute, a year-long fellowship for professionals with disabilities. Applications for the 2027 Institute are open now, and we'll be selecting the next cohorts for both Chicago and Southwestern Pennsylvania in the coming months. Today, we'll address the following topics. First, a brief overview of our organization to help you get to know Disability Lead. We'll then explore the Institute program in more depth. I'll share more about the ideal candidate for the program, the different elements of the program that occur across the year, as well as examples of workshop topics and a schedule. And finally, I'll review the application and selection process so you understand what's needed to apply and what you can expect in terms of our recruitment process. Our vision is that people with disabilities lead with power, influence, and authenticity. Our mission is to elevate and connect a network of leaders with disabilities who shift power, transform systems, and redefine leadership. With more than 300 leaders across 2 chapters in Chicago and Southwestern Pennsylvania, we are just getting started. Disability Lead is the only program of its kind in the nation. We are a leadership organization built by and for disabled leaders, and the only one in existence that also actively supports connections to professional opportunities for civic and professional advancement. Here's a brief overview of our organizational programs, which consist of 3 primary components: Institute, Network, and Connections. On the screen is an image of a circular icon displaying the words Institute, Network, and Connections, with arrows moving in a circular motion to illustrate how these 3 areas of our programs are connected. The Institute is a one-of-a-kind year-long program where you focus on who you want to be as a leader and start taking action on your individual goals. The network is a connected community of more than 300 leaders with disabilities who access continuous learning, peer support, and one another. Connections is how we match our leaders to civic opportunities and jobs with real growth potential. So far, we've made more than 2,000 connections for our leaders. While anyone can apply to be a member at any point in time, the Institute is one pathway to membership for individuals who are seeking an immersive learning experience to support their leadership development as they move into the network. Individuals who complete the fellowship become lifetime members of the Disability Lead Network upon completion of the fellowship year. As we've now expanded beyond Chicago to the Southwestern Pennsylvania region, we'll be hosting an Institute class in each region every year. So who is the Institute for? Let's talk a bit more about ideal candidates for the program. Fellows are emerging or established leaders who are eager to explore their disability identity and how to lead with power and influence among a group of committed peers. Candidates must meet the following criteria. They must self-identify as a person with a disability. They must live or work in the identified counties of the Chicago or Southwestern Pennsylvania regions, as outlined on our website. And they must have at least 5 years of leadership experience in any context. That may be professional, or that may be in different ways you've shown up in your community. Candidates should be committed to the following: seeking civic engagement opportunities, strengthening cross-disability identity and knowledge, expanding leadership skills and self-awareness, and advancing in their professional career. We found that fellows who have the most success are eager to engage in self-reflection and practice being vulnerable and exploring their own disability identity journey. In addition, fellows should be open to collaboration, community building, and contributing to a safe space for learning from the experience of others. We find that candidates often fall into one of 2 categories: emerging leaders who are early to mid-career, or established leaders but who are newer to the disability community or less experienced in exploring their disability identity. We welcome all experiences and perspectives. The Institute entails three core phases. Before these phases begin, there's a period of preparation at the start of the year where we spend time getting to know fellows in an effort to customize the Institute experience. Each fellow participates in an individualized access meeting, typically sometime between January and March of the fellowship year. Fellows meet one-on-one with disability lead staff to discuss their learning style, preferences, and access needs for full participation in the Institute. Phase 1, the intensive virtual learning series, then initiates in the spring and typically entails between 5 to 7 full days of learning spread out across several weeks. Fellows attend a series of intensive learning days where they learn and develop skills while in community with their cohort. These days take place virtually. We then move into phase 2, mentorship, which initiates once the learning days have been completed, roughly halfway through the fellowship year. Fellows are matched directly with a professional mentor with whom they work closely with across the remainder of the fellowship year. And finally, phase 3, which includes the reunion and reflection event, the only in-person component of the experience, which takes place in the fall of the fellowship year. Fellows join for one in-person event with their cohort to join in celebration of the community they've built and to share reflections on their experience. So, what topics are covered during the Institute Learning Days? While workshop topics are determined on an annual basis and may change, some examples of past sessions have included history of disability rights, intersectional leadership, personal narrative and storytelling, strategies for making change, ADA 101, knowing your rights, power dynamics and addressing conflict, navigating difficult conversations, self-advocacy in the workplace, tips for professional goal setting. As mentioned, the intensive learning series includes full days of virtual learning, which are spread out across several weeks in the spring of the fellowship year. While schedules are determined on an annual basis and may change, the following is an example of a schedule for one virtual learning day. The group may join virtually from approximately 9 to 10 a.m., where they'll be welcomed and join in a warm-up exercise to connect with their peers. There may be then a 30-minute break, followed by a 90-minute morning workshop with a special guest. Fellows may then break for lunch for an hour and return in the early afternoon for another 90-minute workshop with a featured guest. They may then have another 30-minute break, rejoin for a group activity, and then have a closing reflection towards the end of the day. The schedule mapped out here is a roughly 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. day. We do ask that fellows be prepared to commit time for a 9 to 5 full virtual learning day for each of the dates that are identified. We understand that virtual learning days can feel long, and we intentionally create schedules that are not only engaging and robust, but that include adequate breaks and time away from the computer screen. At this time, I'll transition to discussing the application and selection process. If you have further questions about the Institute program, please email application@disabilitylead.org and we'll be happy to assist. The 2027 application is open now, and you can begin your application at any time. The application entails two parts, a nomination form and an application form. One nominator is required for consideration. You may not be your own nominator, and a nominator cannot be a family member. You can learn more about nominators and who you might consider to ask to be yours in the FAQ section of our website. When you begin your application, you'll be asked to submit a name for a nominator as a first step. Once you've submitted this information, your nominator will then receive a nominator form via link in an email that is sent by our application system. You and your nominator will receive confirmation emails once the form is successfully submitted, and your nominator will be required to share why they feel you are a good fit for the Institute when they complete the form. We encourage you to check in with your nominator to ensure they've received their form so that it is completed in a timely fashion. You will then need to complete the full application portion, which includes detailed information about you, as well as brief essay responses to help us understand why you would like to be considered. Once you submit the application and your nominator submits their form, your application will be considered complete. Only complete applications submitted by the final deadline will be considered. Disability Lead staff will notify you regarding the next steps. There are two deadlines for the 2027 application cycle. The early bird deadline is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026 at 5 p.m. Central Time. All applicants who apply by the early bird deadline will be guaranteed an interview. The final deadline is Wednesday, September 9th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Central Time. While early bird applicants are guaranteed an interview, candidates who submit applications after July 1st may or may not be invited for an interview pending review of their application materials. If you run into issues during the application process or would like to request the application in an alternative format for accessibility, please contact application@disabilitylead.org so that we may assist you. The selection process will begin in late July and continue into the early fall. Once your application is complete, you may be invited for a virtual interview with the staff and selection committee. Again, while early bird candidates are guaranteed an interview, candidates who submit applications after July 1st may or may not be invited for an interview pending review of their application materials. Interviews will take place between July, August, and September of 2026. If invited for an interview, you will meet with 2 interviewers and will be provided preparation questions in advance. Accommodations will be provided, and interviews will take place virtually via Zoom. After all interviews have been completed, the selection committee and staff proceed with an in-depth review of all interviewed candidates. An internal review results in the selection of the final candidates who will be admitted into the program. Candidates will be notified of their status and whether they have been accepted into the program in the fall of 2026. Accepted candidates will be asked to complete an official acceptance form to indicate their commitment to participating in the program. The acceptance form will include the official program dates that fellows will be required to commit to attending. Thank you for joining for this session. We hope you'll consider applying to the 2027 Institute. As mentioned, you can contact us anytime at application@disabilitylead.org for questions or assistance. Thanks, and stay in touch.